Why do you wanna? why? Why do you wanna name this "Okay Stranger" such a terrible freaking name? Why?
It's not terrible. I mean, it's cool. It's like, well, there's okay.
Why? Where does it come from? Where does this idea come from?
I'm just about to tell you. You just, if you let me tell you, I'll tell you.
Hold on. So, I can't. Hold on. I can't tell you because I have to first introduce this, right? We have to do like an introduction. So I am Artem. On the other line is.
Hi, I'm Mila.
Good enough. And we're gonna do a podcast, an inaugural podcast. We're gonna talk about a lot of different topics that Mila and I typically talk about anyway for hours on end, and I just thought it might be interesting for people in the real world, not in our world, but in the real world, to hear what we say, because we touch on things that I think everybody likes to think about sometimes. So, of course, the topic du jour is what are we going to name this thing, because it was kind of a spontaneous idea. I don't really know what to call it. But Mila had this idea of calling it "Okay Stranger," which I think is terrible. So now I want to hear from Mila where this idea came from. Please, go ahead.
My God, you're talking like a radio host star. Were you like rehearsing or something?
Time for commercials. Hang on. Well, billions of people are going to listen to this. This has to be really good. Professionals, seemingly.
Yeah, okay, you billions of people. So here's the idea about the name. And here's the story behind the name that I'm suggesting for this podcast. So we all know that there's this online dating thing called OkCupid, right? But when you actually use that, OkCupid turns out to be okay, because all of the strangers you meet are just, random people, and you talk to them all the time, and then you never see each other again. And we actually, we talk about this thing and dating, including dating, all the time. So, and we basically talk about strangers as well. So why don't we call this thing just Okay Stranger? And besides all of just what I said, I already have a logo for that and a website.
Well, I mean, you're on OkCupid. You're not trying to meet Cupid.
I'm not trying to meet Cupid. I know.
Right.
Why would I be? Why would I be trying to meet Cupid? Cupid is a fictional character.
Well, I mean, for some.
Believe me, I met enough of fictional characters.
We're gonna get into that with or without drugs. But OkCupid is like that. The idea behind OkCupid is like it's a challenge to Cupid, because Cupid is supposed to be like that god type thing that's supposed to.
Well, it is a challenge. It is a challenge for you and me, and it is a challenge for those people who might listen to this thing that we're talking about. So basically, we are strangers to them, and they are strangers to us.
Yeah, but that's true of everybody. Everybody's a stranger. So,
exactly, and also because we talk about all kinds of stuff, it's like we don't even have a theme, because we talk about relationships, we talk about how electricity works, we talk about mothers, anything, everyday stuff, except that people in everyday life don't talk about things we talk about.
Yeah, but it's not we don't talk about strangers, right? Okay Stranger is has something to do with strangers, right? It has nothing to do with Cupid has something to do with romance and people falling in love. I understand that. But stranger, it's weird. In any case, stranger is a negative word. It's a stranger is someone unfamiliar, you don't know. Stranger danger. That's what little kids are taught when they're little, right? Stranger danger. So, okay stranger is it's weird. There's no OkCupid makes sense, because it's OkCupid, what do you got, right? Okay, stranger, it's well, stranger, what are you doing here? It should be what are you doing here, stranger? That would be a good name. But okay, stranger, it's nah, dude, why? Why okay? You're a stranger.
Well, okay, stranger, what are you doing here? That'll be a terrible name.
That would be a terrible name.
It's a pretty long name. Okay, stranger, what are you doing here?
So I definitely don't think it should be OK Stranger, even though you have a logo, which, I like having things in general. But no, I don't know about OK Stranger. I think maybe what we should do is like talk our regular talk, just like have our regular conversations, and then like see where it goes, like see what develops, and then we'll figure out a name. And for starters, it's going to be like the Artem and Mila podcast or something like that.
It's boring. I mean, just about like Artem and Mila podcast. That's just boring. Even I don't want to listen to
that. Luckily, you don't have to. So you get a free pass. But I mean, it's better than OK Stranger. I don't know, like what what I mean, like.
Well, look, we all are strangers in a way.
But I mean, we're also
even like you think you know me, and I'm sure you know me, but at some point there are things that you still don't know about me, and I think I know you, but there's something I still don't know about you. So like we all are strangers in a way, but not completely.
That's deep. That's deep. But me and you were like not at all strangers. But it's true that there's always things you don't know about someone. Hey, I have an idea. You had a book signing event recently. What kind of so let me throw this in. You wrote a book, like an actual paper book with words in it, and you had an event in New York City somewhere. You'll tell us where exactly, and tell us what happened at the event. What was the event?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's true. Yesterday I had a book presentation party, which was in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue in a bookstore. It's called St. Petersburg Bookstore, and I was like the star of the night with all the signing and reading, and like people actually asked questions.
That's awesome.
I really felt weird, and I felt like a fucking Hollywood star.
You are a Hollywood star. Where is this bookstore located? Where is it?
It's on Fifth Avenue between 28th and 29th Street.
In Manhattan, New York City, yeah? And is your book available for sale in this location? Fifth Avenue and 28th Street?
Yeah, obviously it's there in Manhattan. So the bookstore is called St. Petersburg Bookstore. And it's also available in Brooklyn. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Book Depository, online store.
Okay.
And
I get it.
Yeah,
It's available.
Everywhere. It's like
available
everywhere.
Does it have, what am I thinking? A name. Does it have a name?
Well, of course it has a name, but the book is in Russian. Do you want me to tell the name in Russian, or?
Yes. I want to know it in Russian. Parolь Sarafan, is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one. Parolь Sarafan.
Okay.
Finally, you learned it.
I know, it took me a while.
It took you like a year to learn the name of my book.
That's true. Maybe another year I'll actually read it. That's not true. I started reading it like a while ago. I just never finished. Which is impressive because it's in Russian. Okay, so tell me what happened at this event. Like, how was it organized? What happened? I'm really curious.
Well, it was organized pretty great because I was the one who actually organized that. So I'm giving a little bit of credit for myself. Like people came, we had some champagne, we were talking, and basically, like most of the people that were there, I didn't even know them because some friends who confirmed and who were like really excited about the whole event, and they were like, yeah, we're still coming. Like, I'm gonna be there. I'll see you there. No one that I knew, that I know in person, no one really showed up. So I should really just stop calling them my friends. But instead of that,
did they tell you, like, did they say like, hey, sorry, I'm not gonna be able to make it, or they were just like, fuck you, Mila?
Well, I guess that's what it means. Once people go silent, I think it means
they never told you that they were gonna come, or did they actually?
Well, so I use different channels to invite people. Like I actually called, I sent messages, I made this event on Facebook where people could, see all the details and basically just press the button like interested or I'm going or fuck you, Mila. And according to all of that, there should be like more people than actually came yesterday. And they were like, yeah, like every time I talk on the phone or in text messages, all of those guys were like, yeah, that's great, that's exciting. So I'll see you then. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And none of those people who I invited personally, because obviously I know them, right? And I have the numbers and everything. None of them came.
Wow.
Instead of that, people who I have no idea, like who they are, those people came. So I'm like, okay, great, you should pay. Like, yay! What's your name? So I really felt like a star a little bit because apparently there are people who are who are following me and who are interested in this stuff, and they actually showed up. So that was pretty fun.
That's amazing. So
yeah.
I mean, sucks that your friends didn't show up. It sounds like a sign of the times today. We should probably talk about that more, about what it means to be like friends and like social friends versus like intimate friends. But like, okay, so
I can tell you right now what it means to be friends.
Go ahead, but I want to know about this event. Can we talk about the event and then you can tell me?
Okay. I just have this brilliant sentence about friendship, but okay, sure, I'll memorize that.
Now I want to know what it is. But okay, fine. So let's talk about this event. So free champagne at this bookstore. You're showing up. A lot of these people that you don't even know, they're like your fans. And so what actually happened? Did you like read parts of your book, or like how long did the whole thing last? Tell me a little bit more about what happened.
Well, the whole thing lasted for like 2 hours, and
wow.
yeah. I didn't make them suffer from all the like listening, because it's just boring to listen when it takes way too long, So I read just for like 7 minutes, and that was like a spoiler of the book because I intrigued them. I intrigued the audience by reading the very end, but not the end of the book, but not the very end, because like I left something that they're the one who have to find out how the book ends. So and they were like, okay, this is funny. Like they actually took part in that like reading and commenting and everything. It was like a discussion. Like it wasn't even a reading. It just turned out to be a discussion about characters and about media manipulation, because this is what the book is about. Of course, I got this question, like, is the main character, is the protagonist of the book is actually me? Did I write her, did I talk about myself by writing, by creating that character?
Did you?
So, what do you think?
I really have no idea. But probably yes, because vanity, I don't know.
Well, it's impossible to avoid that. Once you're writing about something, either way you're gonna have your own ideas about stuff. So it might be not the character like completely you. The character might not be completely you, but all of the characters have your thoughts.
Right.
And even when it's not fiction, when it's non-fiction without characters and everything, it's still you.
That's deep. You know what's crazy? So that's pretty deep. But what's crazy is it's also true in real life.
About what do you mean? What do you mean?
Like other people in your head are still you.
Sort of, but like yes and no. Yeah,
well, that's not very precise.
I guess that's me again trying agreeing and disagreeing at the same time, because this is usually what happens.
This is what happens.
So I know for sure that if you, and this is like a psychological fact, but the things that annoy you in other people is basically who you are.
Well, I think that's probably true. That's probably true. But I think like what I'm saying is when you're thinking that what somebody would say in some situation or just spontaneously, like in your mind, that's you talking to yourself. So you're like kind of right. It's the same thing as in the book. Like I'm not saying like actually communicating with a real person, but I'm saying like when you're thinking about like something another person would say to you, it's you talking to yourself.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, the good news is you have the ability to think. So that's the good news.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I don't think most people realize that. Like I didn't realize that for a
Most
long
people
time.
are stupid, you know that. And
Yes.
we gotta listen. I think we gotta do something about this podcast because I'm usually mean to people, and you know that.
But this is
And
what
I'm
people
usually,
want.
and
People
I'm
want
usually,
mean. People want meanness.
and
That's what people like. I will be good cop. You will be bad cop.
I'm not even trying to be bad. It's just and I'm not doing that intentionally. It's just
You're
what
not
I'm
bad. You're
talking.
just born that way.
Yeah, I'm
drawn.
just
You're just drawn that way. Jessica Rabbit.
exactly. I'm just that bad.
That's all right. That's all right. You just called our entire audience stupid, but that's fine.
Well, look,
So
not exactly because I don't really know our audience, and we don't really have any audience yet.
what are
So
you talking about? This is
I'm not
being
really.
listened to by
Oh my
billions of
God, am
people.
I live? Am I
Yes,
live right
you're being
now?
broadcast right now. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the stats. There's 4,300 people listening to this right now.
4,300. Oh, it sucks.
Yeah,
It's not enough. I thought it would
it's
be.
not.
I thought it would be a million by now.
I think it's okay for our first try. Moving along. So you were there for 2 hours, and there was an actual like convert. So did these people already read your book, or they were
Some
kind of brand new?
so some of them read the book already because like it was published in May. It just took me that long to buy that champagne.
Okay.
Actually,
So that's cool. So some of them already read your book. You're saying?
yeah, some of them read books. Some of them haven't read the book before the event. But they were all like excited, and they were like, "Oh my God!" I'm like talking to a writer who's alive. I'm like, "Well, of course I'm alive. I'm like right here."
Nice.
Apparently, people get excited when they are talking to a writer who's not dead. Oh, by the way, stupid, but at the same time, funny thing happened. Like a friend of mine showed up, and he is like in his late 40s, and he was like, "Okay, Mila, are you gonna sign the book for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And he goes, "Yeah, please write something like awesome for me because when you're dead, I'm gonna become rich, and I'm even younger than he is." I'm like,
Wow.
like thank you. Not that I'm planning to die anytime soon, but well, thanks for showing up.
Does he know something you don't know?
I don't know. He's just a dentist, and so he has like a very weird sense of humor, like all the doctors. So.
Fair, fair. All of the doctors. Um,
I mean, this is my revenge. I mean, he buried me alive yesterday. And I signed a book for him. And he was like, yeah, well, when you die. He's like 15 years older than me.
but that's really cool. I think people. I don't know. I think that's really cool. Like I didn't know that people kind of turn out for these book things, and but it's cool that they still sort of respect the idea of a writer. I think that's a cool thing. I think we're kind of moving further and further away from like actual authors with actual books.
Yeah, I was surprised people showed up. I was surprised as well that people showed up because, like, if I had to go to, like, if I had an option to go to some book signing by some Mila, I'd be like, who the hell is Mila? Why should I go there? Like, I wouldn't go to my own event if I didn't know me. You know what I mean?
That's terrible.
I know. I'm that, apparently I'm that judgmental. So,
yeah. But you don't really go to, like, writer events, do you?
No, but it's not.
You don't care about other writers. You're like, screw other writers.
No, it's not about that. It's just like, I don't really see the point. Why do I have to get that signature from some person I don't really know? And like, what am I supposed to do with this autograph? Like, why do I need it? Or why should I take a picture with that person? We're not friends. I mean, you remember I told you that I hang out with Jason Statham. I didn't take any pictures with him. He was like flirting with his ass off with me. He was hitting on me, but I didn't take it. Like, I have no proof of that because I don't really take pictures with people, like famous people that are, you know, relatively famous. Because why would I? We're not friends.
How convenient.
What do you mean?
Saying, you know, you hung out with Jason Statham, but there's no pictures because you don't take pictures.
Oh, well, yeah, you can absolutely think that I'm just bullshitting you, but I know it happened, so I don't really care what you think.
Fair. I would totally take a picture if I was hanging with Jason Statham. I would do it. But then again, well, I'm sure you have like an author that you really, really like that you would want to have something signed by.
Well, he's dead now, so I don't really have that chance.
You don't have any like living authors that you really enjoy?
Actually, I like some authors that are still alive, which apparently, like yesterday, I figured out that I'm not enjoying that. I mean, at some point, like, I don't know, being a star or something, like answering all the questions, which are pretty much the same questions. Because
give me an example. What did they ask you?
You know, like the obvious stuff, like how did you come up with these characters? Well, did you like just describe someone you know, or was it like I don't know, like 4 people, and then you combine them all into one character of the book, which is like it's the most primitive question you can ever ask. Or like, what are your plans? What are your plans for future? Well, I'm sorry, I'm just good with questions. You know that I'm really good with questions, and I mean sometimes I still ask boring questions, but questions should be really good. Like if there's something you cannot find on Google, this is when you ask a question.
Okay, but like, how are they gonna find on Google how you came up with your characters?
True. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Like maybe it just seems boring to me because I know what it takes to create a character, and at the same time I realize that people have no idea how writers work and how things work when it comes to writing, and they'll get really excited about that. But I'm not excited about that because this is like, you know, my work. I'm not even thinking about it. Oh my god, okay, so here I am, I'm sitting in front of my laptop and I'm creating a character. Okay, so this character should have red hair, or this character should be sarcastic, or it doesn't work like that. It's not like I'm scrolling through my Facebook friends and trying to figure out, okay, so I'm taking this and this and this person and it's gonna be character number 1. In the book. It's not about that, it's just yeah, I know, and so someone who said that, well, apparently I don't like answering all the questions, and like I just realized what I'm really doing right now is I'm just answering your questions.
Yeah, you really hate answering questions. I can hear it in your voice. three hours later.
Yeah.
so you know how much I hate answering these questions.
Yeah, and 3 hours later, and here's how I create my texts. Next question, please.
Yes. I think it. You know what it is like. Writing, I think, is one of those things that it's very intuitive for some people to do, and it's for some people like it's impossible. Like for me, for example, like it's impossible to draw. Like for me to paint seems like something magical. Like a person who can paint like a really like a realistic painting. It for me is like you might as well just tell me you just do magic like at home. You literally like have an incantation and shit because like I can't paint anything. Like I can't touch it. Like I can't do it. Like I can't paint a line. Crazy, like nothing. And these people kind of like intuitively, like naturally paint these masterpieces. Like to me, that's something completely unintelligent. Like I can't wrap my head around it because I just can't do it. It's not in my brain. I think the writing is the same for some people. Like I think some people just can't imagine how you just boom and have a story, which is actually how you do it, right? You just boom and you have a story like out of your butt, like boom, like story, like a book, right? And you're like, well, I don't know, I just do it. Like I don't know, I don't even think about it. I just do it. Like and these people are like, what do you mean? Like what's the steps? Like what are the process? Like how does it work? Like they don't understand. Like to them it's magic, you know? I think that's what it is. And I think people who can write, like you, kind of just like, well, you don't understand the other people, right? You don't understand, well, what do you mean it's not natural? What do you mean, like, you don't understand how this works? Like, it's just so intuitive. It's just so natural. It's just like eating or drinking or...
No, you know what? This is not what I think. Well, when they ask me these questions, I'm like, well, you gotta have this skill. You gotta have this, special power to be able to put the words together that would make some sense. I'm like feeling like I'm better than others. It's kind of bad, but it's good.
Well, I mean, if you can write a book and someone can, then in that sense you're better than them, right? In terms of...
Yes, yeah, of course.
Right? Like in terms of writing a book, you're better.
Of course.
Well, like you're one book better than someone who's never written a book. It's not, that's not like a totality evaluation. It's in terms of writing books versus someone who's never written a book, you're better.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm compared to other people who write books, like under the same category, I guess, that'll be a competition. So why would I compete with other writers when I can be the best around people who cannot write books?
There you go. Now you're getting it. Okay, cool. So sounds like this was a pretty cool event. I'm glad it turned out well. I am happy to have a podcast with a celebrity. And do
not expect me to die first because you're older than me, even though you're older a little bit, but do not expect me to die first.
I would never. And but make sure you die right. Make sure you sign all my book copies before you do. All right, very very cool, very cool. So now, okay. So yeah, so you had this brilliant thing you wanted to say about friends?
Yeah. So friendship means
If we had a commercial break, this would be like a perfect time for a commercial break.
Yeah, let's sign up like a Samsung or something.
We should sign something up. While Mila is looking up her sentence, please visit our sponsor, the sponge to end all sponges. It will wash, it will unwash, it will clean your things. Always very good.
Okay, so surprisingly, I cannot remember my own words by heart, so I'm just gonna open that because this is what I'm using in this new book that I'm working on. And like when I came up with that saying, like sometimes, well, not sometimes actually, but most of the time when I'm writing stuff, I'm enjoying that myself. Like if I read that in someone else's book, I'll probably make a snapshot or I would write down that quote from the book or something. Like if
Artem, I'm so quotable as an author. It's amazing. I love it. I love when I read my stuff. It's so quotable. I just want to take a snapshot of it. Put it on the wall. It's great.
Why are you talking like Louis C.K.?
It's wonderful. Let me tell you about it. I wish I read things I write in other books, but I don't. Sorry. It just took me over for a second. It happens.
So I found this line. Do you want to hear about what real friendship is? Like who the real friend is? So a real friend is. So listen to me. A real friend is someone who empathizes and sympathizes, rejoices and admires longer than out of politeness.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. I think that has value. But it's not like, but good friends can be, they can be hard on you too. They're not all just like fluffy and positive. A good friend can give you like, what the fuck, like they can give you, they can set you straight too, I think that's part of being a good friend, is like to be like, look, you're being an asshole right now. Right?
Yeah, true, but they're doing that, well, that's exactly what I mean, because if someone who is not your friend, someone who is not your friend will not do that for you, because you will try to be polite.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. So today it's kind of like, well, I'm not like an authority on friendships because I travel a lot. So it's kind of, I'm in a different situation. It's difficult for friends to sort of catch up to me, in terms of like just contact, I mean. But I think under normal circumstances, like what I've seen and experienced, I think we have a lot, like so many more acquaintances than we do friends. But I think we don't realize how many more of people who we think are friends are actually our acquaintances. And there's a huge gap between those two things.
Because people keep socializing, that's what they do. They don't really understand who their real friend is, or maybe they're just having a little chit-chat with someone, or they're just being social.
But that seems like this is the trend. It looks like the trend is more and more contacts, less and less commitment to those contacts. You know what I mean? Like the sphere of contacts is continuing to radiate out because it's much easier to be connected to someone today than it was before. Right? Before you have to talk to someone, you have to like write things on paper for a long time, and then you have to like physically mail that paper to someone. Like I read something where there was a researcher who was sent to research Buddhism in Tibet from France, and so he went out to Tibet. He was researching that stuff. His commissions, someone at the university where he was sent out from canceled his commissions. Basically, we're not going to fund you anymore. You have to stop and you have to come back. That message didn't reach this person for like 2 years.
Wow,
this is like in the 1700s. So for 2 years, like he didn't get that letter, and then when he finally got it 2 years later, he left Tibet and went back to France. But like it took 2 years, Like, we're talking about, like, horses and by foot and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, crossing mountain ranges and shit. Like, they didn't have airplanes. You know, they had to go by... And they didn't even have, like, steamships yet, right? They had sail ships.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. Yeah, Wi-Fi back then was really slow. 2 years.
Very, very slow. Yeah. So like at that point, you know, like to have a contact with someone means a lot. That's like more investment that most people put into any of their contacts today. You know, you want to write someone a letter, you want to like communicate with someone. That's a letter that's gonna take weeks to get to them, in the best case. You know. There's no telephone or anything. Today, it's like the opposite, right? It's like you can be in touch with someone instantaneously without doing shit. So, like, you feel like you have a lot more relationships than you really do, because what you really have is a Rolodex. You have a list of contacts. But I think that's where it ends, like, for a big percentage of it.
How ironic is that? So now we all have a lot of acquaintances, but not friends. And it's more about the quantity than about the quality. And at the same time, a lot of services are available for people to get the things you can get for free from your actual friends.
Yeah, I think it is ironic. And I think maybe what's happening is it's like the system of friends has transformed and no one realized, because like 100, like, you know, more than 100 years ago, like 200 plus years ago, you needed friends. Like, you had to have friends to get basic things done, because it was hard to do everything. Like, we didn't have, you know, electricity, we didn't have like lights, you know, like anything you want to do, you had to have friends who can help you to do it, because you physically, like, there was no internet, there was no information, there was hardly any books, right? Books were expensive to print. So, and there weren't a lot of them printed. Not a lot of people could even read or write, right? So, like, you had to have friends to get things done in the world. So your friends...
and now you can hire people to do that, which is
you no longer
kind of crazy.
You can get everything. Well, you don't need to have anyone anymore. You can completely live on your own and be entirely sustained. You can have the food, you can have entertainment, you can have travel, you can have your hobbies. You want to start a business, you want to not start a business. Whatever you want to do, you can do by yourself now. You can, like, go, like, on the internet, figure out what you need to do and do it. Or, you know, like, buy a ticket somewhere and fly somewhere the next day. Any time of day. Like, it's crazy. You can do everything now on your own. Like, you can just use the service economy or the product economy, and, you know, Amazon will send it to your door or whatever, right? Like, you don't need friends anymore. You have business that kind of enables your needs. So, friends now kind of took a completely different role, right, in society. You kind of, they're more of a nice to have, right? They're kind of like, you know, they're socialized and they'll support you emotionally and all that kind of stuff, which is still, you know, that's still important. But it's not like live or die important, you know?
Right, because you can pay for that service to shrink and get the same emotional support.
Even that bit, right? Like, even that emotional bit that friends provide, you're right. Like, you know, you can, in theory, go to a doctor. But you know, that's not the same. That's not the same kind of substitute. But all the things that in the past we needed friends to survive, like, you know, friends you would get together and, like, I don't know, like, build a house or something, you know what I mean? Like, you needed friends to just live, right? Like, you had to have them, otherwise you would be, like, you'd die. You just die. You die in the street, like, by yourself, like, starving, because no friends, right? That's not the case anymore in, like, you know, civilized society. So friends, like, are no longer critical. So now that they're no longer critical, what's happening? Like, the more friends you have, the more, it's no longer, like, for the criticality of them. Now it's more kind of like, you know, to get the likes, to have, like, social status, like, to feel good about yourself that you have all these friends. It's like it's a feel-good it's a feel-good friendship rather than a necessity friendship. And and the whole like Facebook and everything else is kind of a catalyst for it. You know what I mean? Like it's no longer. It's just for like the feels. Like a lot of friends now are for the feels. They're not really like there's no emotional connection or intellectual connection or any kind of connection. Like they're just kind of, oh, I know you because I've seen you somewhere. Now I have you in my list of people on Facebook, and sometimes you're gonna like my stuff, and that's what makes someone a friend. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You wouldn't believe that I'm emotionally connected with all the 2,000 people on Facebook that I'm friends with.
You're right. I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it. You slut.
Well, I'm very friendly. I'm very friendly.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, it's what it means to be human is changing very, very quickly. Like in the last 100 years, it's changed, and then I think what I think happened. I think what happened was this thing where like you no longer need friends to survive happened pretty slowly over the last 100 years or so, and especially maybe in the last 40, 50 years, right? The Industrial Revolution has made that possible. But we never had the technology to kind of enable that, to kind of like realize what that means, right? So it kind of happened, but nothing really changed that much because people were still pretty disconnected, and so you still kind of needed that physical interaction in your neighborhoods or whatever. Now with the digital stuff, like with the digital interactions and digital socializations, all the social networking, it sort of provided something we didn't realize happened, right? Like it made a technology for something that we didn't realize existed, which is a transformation of friendships, right? Like that technology, I think, is kind of an intuitive result of the fact that friendships started meaning less to people.
So what do you think it should mean to people?
I don't know that there is a should, right? I don't know that there is a should because like all of these things are defined by our culture at the time, right? So like now with today's culture, with the fact that we have like economic prosperity, we have all our needs kind of addressed. We have kind of the tools to kind of stay alive and be happy. Well, be fat and happy, not like content necessarily, but be fat and happy. What friends are and why friends are important has changed. I don't know that there is a should. Like I don't know that there's a kind of a prescriptive like here, this is what's good to be a friend. I mean, you can look at I guess like back in the day of like philosophers like the Aristotles and the Socrates of the world like 2,000 years ago, and they talked about friendships, and they talked about different kinds of friendships, and they talked about these very same things. They talked about like what it means to be a friend, and to them like friendship was one of the most important things in the world. It was like possibly the most important thing. Like friendship was the most important thing in life to many of these philosophers. And they would write a lot of stuff about like what it means to be a true friend. And maybe that kind of those things are what we need to bring back, like the real deep virtues of friendships, and like in terms of like what in terms of what you wrote, like being enthusiastic, being supportive, being like truly caring about what's going on in the other person's life. Kind of like sharing life's values with someone else. Sounds kind of like a marriage, I guess, but that's coming back to our concept of friendage.
Oh, friendage, yeah. I think it's a completely separate subject to talk about friendage. But you know what I just thought about? Like, they call it friends with benefits, but it's not really being friends. Like when it's with the benefits, it's more like acquaintances with benefits. Because you're not like, let's face it, you're not really friends. You're not really friends when you the benefits. When it's when it's mostly about the benefits.
Yeah, that's not like the person that's gonna go like bail you out of jail, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the person you're gonna call.
So they shouldn't really call it friends with benefits. They should really call it acquaintance with benefits. Or just basically, some person with benefits. Or like, I don't know, dick person. The pussy, let's call it like that. The pussy and the dick. Let's name what they really mean.
People never call things what they really mean. Did you ever have a friend call you to bail them out of jail? Happened to you?
No, because I'm not friends with those people, or maybe they just managed not to be arrested, or maybe I just never heard that phone call. Maybe they did. Never heard. No, actually, no. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, that never happened.
They thought you were their friend, and you're like, oh, this is an acquaintance with benefits.
Well, they know I'm not rich, so there's no point to call me. I can't relate.
It happened to me once.
Really? So
yeah, I was at work in downtown Manhattan, and I get a phone call, and it's from my man. We'll call him Mr. G. And Mr. G is on the phone, goes, Artem, listen. And I wasn't expecting a call. I didn't know what's going on. I had no idea. He's like, Artem, listen. I'm in downtown Brooklyn right now. I am in custody. I need you to come down here, like fill out some paperwork, and get me out of here. And I'm having a great time with this. I'm like, so they finally caught you, huh? Like, they finally got you. I was like, well, let me see. I mean, like, it's kind of 5 o'clock. I was planning to work for another, 2-3 hours. So, maybe, I can get you in a few hours. He's like, Artem, you don't understand. You need to come. He got really, really serious. He got really serious. You don't understand. I'm in a jail cell with a fat guy named something, and he doesn't look friendly, and you need to come here right now, and you need to get me out of here. He was not joking. I have never heard him being so scared. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to go and get you. So I dropped everything I was doing, and I went to get him. Turns out, there was some kind of a traffic violation and then they thought he looked like some suspect that they were trying to chase down, even though he looked nothing like the suspect, different nationality and everything, but whatever.
Maybe they just have had a plan to catch 5 people from the road. 5 people
maybe.
A day.
Yeah, maybe.
So they were just trying to stick to the plan. They were just doing their job.
This was like a little Jewish kid from Brighton, curly haired, that just got stopped in the wrong part of the street for no good reason. And they took him in. I don't know why they took him in. It's so stupid. I came over and I got him out.
Wow.
Talk about situations. Yeah, that was so funny on the phone though. He was like, Artem, you don't understand. You need to, because he was calling from one of those jail phones, I guess, right? He wasn't calling me from his cell phone. He was calling me on one of those precinct phones.
The ones they show in movies.
Yeah.
When you're trying to make that phone call, and there's a huge guy standing behind you who's either to rape you and you're just making that phone really fast.
Exactly.
This is what they show in all the movies.
Yep. This is what I imagined that phone call was like. This is what I imagine happened. Yeah.
Well, turns out you are a good friend.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I kind of knew it already, but looks like you're also good to other people. That's good to know. I'm friends with a good person.
If you're ever in jail, I'll help you out. That's all I'm gonna say. So
Well,
feel free to commit all of the crimes that you are planning to commit.
Nah, it's too late. I'm over him. I'm over him already. It's too late.
Oh.
I don't want to do bad things to him anymore.
Fair. I like that.
Actually, a pretty good wish that I like. At my birthday, people called me and texted me, like saying happy birthday, wishing me stuff. And something that I remembered, that was actually from my ex, like a long time ago ex. And he called me and wished me not to have anything with attorneys and doctors, at least this year. I mean, until like next birthday. I mean, that's pretty good wish. Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for joining. Wish you to have nothing to do with attorneys or doctors, except as your closest friends for the whole next year. This was the Artem and Mila podcast. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, don't tell your mama. Till next time.